This is part 3 of methods. We got a lot to cover about methods, so we're spending a lot of time with methods. So in part 2 we define a method called swap that just swaps the values of these strings, right? Just swaps the value. So let's take a look at another way to do this. It's another possibility here. Let's go ahead. I'm going to comment these out. So instead of passing it strings, I want to pass it the text box. I want to pass it the text box, and we can do that. We can set these parameters up to be whatever we want, right? Whatever we want. So let's change that to text box, whatever type we want. Whatever type we want. Text box is a type of the teal color there. It's a type. It's a type of data, right? It's a type of data. It's a text box, right? It's a type of data. So we are in our parameter signature, instead of taking a string, so now we take a text box. Now we take a text box. Now we probably want to change this to text box. So we just change value to, and see the little red box here, the little red box pops up. You can hover over it. You see this little thing pop up, and the little arrow. Click on it, and then you'll see rename. You rename input value 1 to input text box 1. So it's going to rename every instance of that. So I'm just going to click on that and see it rename all these instances of that text box. Okay, same thing here. Hover right here. Now it's going to rename all the instances of that, so everything's renamed. So still getting some red squigglies, but that's okay. So instead of passing it a string, we're going to pass it a text box. We're going to pass it, the text box. Text box is a type. Everything's a type in C#. Everything's a type in C#. And when I say everything's a type in C#, I mean everything's a type in C#. Everything. So text box is a type. It's a type of data. It's a data type. All right, it's a data type. It's a type of data, just like string or message box or anything else. Int. It's a data type that lives within the .NET framework. Right? It's a data type that lives within the .NET framework, and it's called text box. And a text box that's a text box. That's what it is, right? And it has members. We talked about members. It has its members, its properties and methods, right? So we're going to pass it text boxes this time, and now we want it. Instead of passing it the property, we're just going to copy here, Control C and Control V, Control C, Control V. So now I'm going to pass it the text box. You see the red squiggly goes away because this is a text box. You read the little tooltip box there, and you see that it's a text box, right? It's a text box. That's what type it is. And I've declared these parameters to take text boxes, right? So you can only put a text box in there now. You can't put a string in there now. You can't put int, can't put anything else. You got to put a text box in there. So we can only put text boxes in these input parameters, right? And these are text boxes. These are text boxes, right? These are our text boxes here. You go to the parameters. You see these are the names of the text box, right? TXT box value 1, whatever. So we're passing it these text boxes, the whole text box, right? So now we need to call, or not call, but access the property, the text property. We're still working with strings here, so we want to access the text property on this text box, right? And we're going to assign it to this temporary box. So this holds a string, right? So we're assigning it to this temporary box, and we're going to access the text property again. So we're basically doing the same thing. We're just we're using the text properties in this case, and I'm just typing period and the TE, and when I see text highlighted, I hit enter, right? And we don't need these anymore. We can just delete it or comment them out. So now we're passing them the text boxes, or we're passing the text boxes, and we're doing the same. It's the same logic here. We're just using the text properties instead of the strings that we pass to it, right? So we're passing it the text boxes, and we're accessing the text the property which holds whatever value you type in. So let's go ahead and run this, and it should do exactly the same thing, hopefully. Okay, so now I'm going to type in Dave here, like before, and be fine, and we'll swap, and there we go. So now it's doing a little swapperoo, a little switcheroo, and there we go. So it's working the same as before. And it's a little bit less code here. So I just wanted to show you another way. I also want to point out that the text box, those controls, we can't, so we have to be in design view to see them. All these controls are types. They're data types, right? We talked a lot about data types. These are types. These are some more types. So, there are a lot of types in the .NET framework. These are a bunch of them here, and these are for the form app, right? These are data type for the form app. So just wanted to point that out. And we can pass them. We can pass anything, any data type, to a method, right? Okay, so let's move on. I'm going to comment this out. We want to create another method. So I've just commented that out, and click to the right of this curly bracket, right, at the bottom of this method, and we're going to define another method. And this time we are going to return a value. This time we are going to return a value, and I want to return a double, right? Let's return a double type, and I want to name it add numbers, right? Add numbers, because that's what it's going to do. It's going to add numbers, and we're going to take a double, and we'll just num1, and this is going to take two parameters, num2, right? So num1, num2, right? So my parameter signature, I've parameterized my method. My parameter signature has two parameters. Both parameters take a double, so I can only pass doubles to these parameters. I need my curly brackets for my code block, and right off the bat I'm getting a red squiggly. Alright, so what's it say? Not all code paths return a value. Not all code paths return a value. So I'm not returning a value. I'm saying this says that this method's got to return a value. It has to return a value. It has to return a value of that type, in this case double. So it has to return a value of this type. This is the return type, right? So you have to return a value of that type, which in this case is double. And so far in my code, I'm not doing that. So that's why it's giving me the red squiggly. But we'll do that in a minute. Okay, so what we want to do is, well, first let's create let's just call this results. We want to create a box, right? We want to create a variable. There's the variable, and we want to add these numbers together, num1, num2, these input parameter boxes. So whatever's in this input parameter box, whatever, it's got to be a double, so you only put stick a double in there, of double type. Remember, double is a number with a decimal value. So you can only stick a double in there. And so it says, take whatever numbers, whatever values in that box, take it out, add, this is the plus sign. We're dealing with number types here, so this is a plus sign, not concatenation operators. Plus sign, just like a calculator, right? This is calculator plus sign, mathematical arithmetic operator, right? So we're adding, take out the numbers in these two boxes, add them together, and whatever the result is, stick it in this box that we call results, right? Or we'll just call it result, right? And here I'm getting this red box again. There's nothing. This is the only one named that, so there's no point in me. I could click that, but that was the only one, so there's no point in clicking that. So it just says add these two numbers together, stick them in this box, right? And now I'm going to return, and this is a new keyword, return. This is how we return a value. This is the return keyword. Return keyword. This is how we're going to return the value, right? It's pretty straightforward. There's return means return, right? It's what we're returning. And we have to return a double. So this says return this result, right? This variable, which holds a double, and it has to hold a double, right? So we could return a literal if we wanted. This is a literal double, right? It's of double type. We could return that. Let's add an F to the end, so to make it a float. So let's make that a float, right? And actually that worked. I didn't expect that to work, but it does work. So you could return a float there. Well, let's return a. No, this is not going to work. So let's return a string, right? So this is a string. This is a string, and now it's bucking on me. Cannot implicitly convert type string to double, right? So this is a string, and I've declared the return type as double, so it can't return a string. It's got to return a double, right? So these have to match up. These have to match up. The return type and the type that you're returning have to match up. They have to match up, right? And by the way, you could return a float because it's implicitly converting that float into a double. Those types are compatible. The float and the double are compatible. So it implicitly converted that float to a double, right? I wasn't thinking about that. But you definitely can't return a string. You can't return a string because we've declared the return type as a double, right? So you got to return a double. So in this variable result holds a double. It's been declared as a double, so you can only put a double in that box, right? So we can return that. So that holds a double. Okay, so we're going to pass it these numbers, and it's going to return the result, right? Okay, so now we need to access these text boxes. First, we want to create variables. We'll call this value1, and text box is value1. We want that text property, right? We gotta have that text property. And the red squiggly. Why are we getting the red squiggly? What's up with the red squiggly? Cannot implicitly convert type string to a double, right? So this ain't happening. So the text property, once again, it holds a string, and this variable, this box, can only hold a double, right? So remember the food only analogy? It's just like trying to put dirty socks into a box that can only take food, right? So this holds a double. This box only holds a double, this variable, and this text property holds a string. So even if you type in a number here, you type in a number, even a number with a decimal value, it's just a string. It just treats it as a string. It's just plain text, right? It's not a number. It's not a number type. It's just plain text, right? It's just a string. So we have to convert it. It says it can't implicitly convert it, but we can explicitly. We can explicitly, meaning we do it ourselves, right? Implicitly means, C# does it for you automatically. Explicitly means we do it. So it can't implicitly convert string to double. Well, we can do it explicitly. And one way to do that, there are actually a couple different ways, but we can type in double, right? The double type, and one of its members is called parse. It's called a parse, and let's take a look at. Select that and open parentheses. You see it has 4 versions, 4 variations, 4 overloads, and one of them is to take a string. Or one of them, you see the parameter as they named it S, right? For string, short for strings, they just named it S. And the type, the data type, is string, right? So we can only pass it a string. And so this is the version or the overload that we're going to use. We're going to pass this method. We're going to pass this method a string, right? This text property holds a string, right? So we're going to pass it a string. And what it does is parses that. Parse means you read something and read some text and do something with it, right? You read it and do something with it, basically. So it's going to read that text, whatever we type in, and it's going to convert it to a double. So if we type in 100.999, it's going to read that and convert it, parse it. It's going to parse it, and what it's going to do is convert it to a double type. Now, granted, this isn't very robust, because what if I type in my name? It has no way to parse. It can't convert my name to a double, obviously. So this isn't the most robust way of doing it. We'll down the road we'll see a more robust way of doing it. So right now we're just going to assume that the user is going to type in a number, right? So so the double.parse, this is one way, or you could use the convert. Remember the convert type that we've seen before? You could use that. That's another way of doing it. We're going to use the parse method on the double type. This is a static member, so the double.parse will take whatever number you type in, and I want to get lazy here and just Control-C, copy, Control-V, and change that to 2, change that to 2, and there you go. Alright, so now we have our two values. They've been parsed, they've been converted to a double. So now we want to call this method add number. But first we want to use that label. Remember that label? We've got this label here. Then we'll use that to put our answer. And what's the name of this? Label 1. So we just use the default name, label 1. That's fine. So we're going to put our answer right here, right? So and we should probably change the text property, right? So just click on the button, and we'll change this to add. Right, so now when I click on that, it should add these two numbers together and put the answer right here, right? So so we need that label. We're going to assign what this method returns. Remember, it's returning a value. We're returning a value now. So whatever it returns, we're going to assign it to that text property, right? So alright, so we're going to call this method add numbers, right? We need our parentheses, and we can see we can see the method signature, right? This is our method signature. It returns a double, right? And this is the name, add numbers, and the form1 that's the name of this form, right? So form1.add, it's just giving you the fully qualified name here. So the add numbers, that's our method that we just defined, right? Our parameter signature, this is our parameter signature. It takes two doubles, right? Two doubles, and I named the parameters num1, num2. Could have named them whatever. So it takes two parameters, and there's only one version of this method, only one overload. Well, there are no overloads, right? So we have to pass it two doubles. So let's get value 1. Control-C copy, Control-V paste, comma. We separate our arguments with a comma, right? Just like the parameters, and we have to end it with a semicolon, right? So there we go. So we call this method. We pass it these two values, these doubles. It adds the two together, gets the result, and returns the result, right? And then we're going to assign it to the text property. But once again, we're getting the red squiggly. What's up with the red squiggly now? Cannot implicitly convert type double to string, right? Cannot implicitly convert type double to string, right? So this is a shorter way to do this. Let's do it. We can do this on one line, but let's do this on. We can do this on one line. But let's do this on two. Let's just do this on two. result. All right, let's do it this way. We could, well, I'll show you that in a minute. So okay, so string. Actually, now we need the label. So let's do it this way. So the text property result dots, and what method do you think I want to call here? ToString, right? ToString method. So with the parentheses, now we get that this returns a double, right? Now we take that double, convert it to a string with a ToString method, and then assign it to this text property, which only holds a string. So now it should work. Now the red squigglies are gone, and it should work now. It should be good. So let's go ahead and run this and see if our calculator works. Okay, so I'm going to type in a number. Let's say 500, and we're using doubles, so we can use numbers with decimal values if we want. Don't have to, but can. Okay, so when I click this button, hopefully the answer should go right there. There you go. So there, added these two numbers together, right? And here's the answer up here. So it's working. And let's see, and you could do this on just to show you here. We could do this on one line. Label 1 dot text. ToString, right? So this will get the answer, call this method, return the answer, whatever it is, and then convert it to string, and then assign it to this text property, right? So that's a shorter way of doing it, but this is fine. There's nothing wrong with that, and this might be even a little clearer to you, so you may want to stick with that approach. But this would be, if you want to condense it to one line, that's fine. And let's see another way of doing this, by the way. So there's another way to do this. Instead of, and actually let's just comment this out. And got a little excited. Okay, so return. And we're just going to add these, we're going to copy and paste these right here. So it's separated there to make that clear. So we just return. We don't need to assign this to this variable and then return the variable. You can, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But we could do the shorter way, just to be to return whatever the answer is. Add these numbers together and return it, right? So let's try it. Actually, since we're using the shortcut there, let's go ahead and use the shortcut here too. Might as well. So we're just using a little shorter code here. And remember, that's not always a great thing, to condense the code down to one line, or sometimes it's fine, but just make sure it doesn't make it harder to read. Just make sure it's clear to read. If you need another line to make the code clear, then that's fine. That's fine. And we got a bug. I haven't typed in. I didn't type in anything. So, as I said, it's not the most robust program in the world. I'm not checking for null values. We got to stop the debugging. It's blowing up. It's going crazy. And I hit the button before I typed in value. And by the way, if you type in letters, it's going to blow up too. We have to type in numbers. So we're being very trusting of the user right now, which is not a good idea. It's never a good idea to trust the user. But it's fine for now. This is just a little example. So let's do 555. So now it should work. Now we have numbers in here, and we can go ahead and put decimal values since we're working with doubles. So now it should work. So now it should take these two numbers, add them together, and boom, same as before. So there we go. Okay, so I'm going to uncomment this, and just comment. Let's comment this. Click on that. All right. So, and let's go back to the longer way here. I think it's a little more clear. So let's just comment that out. Okay. So what I want to do is put a breaking point. I'm just going to step through this real quick. Yeah, so we put a breaking point right here. You can click over here, or again press F9. So let's go ahead and run this. and just to clarify. Alright, so let's put in 500 here, and we'll put in 1000 and point whatever here, and add. So we click the button, executes what's in this code block. So now we've got these text properties. First one's 500, is what I put in. This property holds that value, what I put in. The double dot parse. Parse is a method of the double type. It's a static method. We'll talk about static methods later. It's a method of this double type, and what it does is parses, reads that text, right? Reads that text and converts it to a double. Converts it to a double. That's all it does. And then the equal signs is assigned. Whatever you get, you assign it to this box. It's called value 1, which only holds a double, right? So this converts the string to a double. And then our variable only holds a double. So there you go. So now we have doubles here. They're note the quotation marks, the double quotes. Here they're strings, but then they get converted to doubles. Now there are no double quotes, right? So they've been converted to a number type, right? So now we can pass them to our calculator, right? Our add numbers method. So now we're passing these values, these double values, to our add numbers method, and we want to do step into this method. Step into the method. Now we can do step over or step into, either one actually. And here we hover over the plus sign operator and get the result. So it's added this number. And this number, this is our input parameter, right? These are input parameter boxes that we've passed, or we passed. See, this holds that first number, and which we could buy. Here we go. Trying to get fancy here. So which gets assigned to. Actually, that's not the one I wanted. Gets assigned to here, right? And then this gets assigned to this, right? So there you go. So we've passed these two arguments, right? These two arguments, which are double values, to our method, and they get assigned to these input parameter boxes. They get dropped into these boxes, right? And then we can use these parameters in our method, and that's what we're doing here. So let's keep going. So the num1 parameter holds 500. That's what we pass to it. Num2 holds whatever that is, and then we add them together, and then we get the result, right? And that goes into this box called result, which only holds a double, and then we return with the return statement. With the return statement, right? We return this box. We return that variable, right? So let's keep going. I'm just going to step over again. So now we're back to this line. It's executed that method, right? We've got the result, and so now it's going to assign. And this is well, it's got the result, and it's going to assign it to this variable. So it executed that method, right? It got a return value, and it assigned, because of the assignment operator, assigned that return value to this variable that I called results, which only holds a double, right? So now results should hold our answer, and it does, right? So that's our result. That's our answer. Now we take that, convert it to a string with a string method, and that gets assigned to this text property, right? So let's go ahead and stop that. And I'm not going to step through it this time. I'm just going to run it one more time real quick. Okay, so we just type in arbitrary numbers here and click on the add, and there you go. It added these two numbers together. So we've got a very simple calculator. So that's the end of part 3, and I'll see you in part 4.